Beneath a full moon, silhouetted trees frame a serene, cloudy night sky. On his porch, an elderly man named Asao Satoru worries that his grandson is late. His attention is suddenly caught by a sharp rustling sound from the nearby bushes. Satoru's expression hardens with suspicion as he focuses on the noise. From the foliage, a burly, menacing man is revealed to be hiding. Sensing danger, Satoru stands alert, his face grim. The intruder emerges from the bushes, aggressively demanding to know who Satoru is. At that moment, a young boy, Takumi, arrives at the gate, calling for his grandpa. Startled by the boy's appearance, the attacker brandishes a large knife. The man lunges towards Takumi as Satoru rushes forward to protect him. Takumi watches in terror, tears welling in his eyes as the scene unfolds. With a violent thrust, the attacker's knife sinks deep into Satoru's side. Though mortally wounded, Satoru loses his footing but continues his charge. The attacker's face twists in shock at the old man's unexpected determination. Satoru bravely tackles the larger man, sending them both crashing to the ground. Takumi cries out his grandfather's name in pure horror and disbelief. With his last ounce of strength, Satoru forces a painful smile for his grandson. As his life fades, his hand goes limp, dropping a small charm to the ground. His vision blurs as he feels his consciousness being pulled away from his body. The last thing he perceives is his grandson's desperate cries as his soul departs. Satoru materializes with a soft pop in a featureless, brightly lit void. A mysterious voice addresses him as young man, offering a chance to be a hero. Seeing a floating, androgynous being, he questions who they are calling young. The being, equally confused, asks Satoru what power he is using to float. The floating entity introduces themselves as Ithral and addresses Satoru as Takumi. Satoru clarifies that Takumi is the name of his grandson, not him. Looking around the strange, empty space, he wonders if this is the afterlife. Ithral listens to the old man's correction, their long hair flowing behind them. A look of dawning horror crosses Ithral's face as they realize their grave mistake. The god confirms that this man is Takumi's grandfather, not the boy himself. Putting the pieces together, Satoru asks Ithral if they are a god. Noticing Ithral has stopped floating, Satoru states he has one important question. With a grim expression, he asks the only thing that matters: if Takumi survived. Ithral looks at him sadly and confirms that Satoru was the only one who died. A wave of relief washes over Satoru, who laughs, saying that's all that matters. He calmly asks why he should be upset if his grandson is safe. Ithral, consumed with guilt, explains their mistake has caused an irreversible consequence. A close-up shows the potted flowers that are present in the ethereal white space. Satoru smiles kindly, reassuring the deity that as long as Takumi is safe, it's all good. He asks what Ithral's original plans were, learning of the intended reincarnation. Seeing an opportunity, Satoru proposes that he be reincarnated in his grandson's place. Ithral's feet touch the ground as they immediately agree to the new arrangement. The god beams with delight, overjoyed to have found such a simple solution. Satoru lets out a quiet sigh, pleased that his quick thinking has paid off. With the deal settled, he prepares to make his first request. Ithral begins to glow with divine power, telling the old man he is very lucky. The god notes that Satoru seems unimpressed by their divine display. Satoru explains he is already familiar with reincarnation from his grandson's novels. He then makes his request, asking to be made a little younger for his new life. Satoru gives a sly glance, considering the possibilities now that anything may be granted. The god Ithral offers the elder anything he desires, his expression gentle and knowing. Satoru thoughtfully considers the boundless offer, his hand resting on his chin. His first practical thought is the initial difficulty he will face with communication. Ithral anticipates this, preemptively granting him languages, common sense, and an appraisal skill. Within the vast white void, the elder animatedly discusses his terms with the god. Ithral seems bemused, touching his head as he notes the detailed nature of the requests. Satoru asks for an item box, explaining his familiarity comes from playing games with his grandson. The god suggests inventory is a better term, visualizing the concept for the elder. Satoru expresses his relief at dealing with a god who understands his modern references. With a light-hearted laugh, Ithral confirms his divine status, which the elder accepts. As a final formality before the transfer, the god asks for the old man's name. Ithral bids him farewell, sending him to the new world in a brilliant flash of light. After Satoru's departure, Ithral muses on what a peculiar human he was. The god then calls out to a hidden presence, inviting them to show themselves. A small blushing girl named Philosoph shyly peeks out from behind a hidden door. She tugs on Ithral's robe, curiously asking about the man who just left. A brief memory shows Satoru on his porch, his grandson asking where Grandpa went. Ithril reassures Philosoph, explaining he sent the man to a safe cave in their world. In the new world, the night sky is illuminated by 2 moons, one full and one crescent. Satoru awakens from his transfer, finding himself tucked into a sleeping bag inside a cave. He observes a nearby shrine-like structure, noting its familiarity in the cool air. Stepping out of the cave, the sight of twin moons confirms his new reality. A sudden rustling sound from within the cave captures his immediate attention. Peering back into the darkness, he sees a large, menacing shadow lurking inside. A chaotic blur of motion depicts a sudden and violent struggle within the cave. A massive one-horned bear with glowing eyes is revealed, mauling a helpless deer. Satoru calmly approaches the brutal scene, chiding the beast for its rowdiness. The bear drops its prey, its head snapping up as it notices the newcomer. With a ferocious snarl, the beast prepares to attack the old man. Satoru thoughtfully touches his chin, considering which spells are at his disposal. As the monster lunges forward, he dismisses the powerful creature as merely annoying. He deftly sidesteps the beast's charge, avoiding its attack with ease. Raising a thin wand, he scolds the creature for its dangerous behavior. He casts a binding spell, and glowing tendrils erupt to ensnare the monster. The horned bear roars in fury while Satoru calmly observes the spell's efficiency. His wand glows once more as he prepares to cast his next spell. He unleashes a volley of magical ice needles that strike the immobilized beast. Turning his attention to the injured deer, he casts a powerful healing spell. The deer's eye flutters open, its life and strength fully restored by the magic. He watches the healed animal leap away, wishing it well and warning it to be safe. Standing over the defeated bear, he offers a brief, respectful prayer. He then uses his new inventory skill to store the creature's massive carcass. The next morning, a beautiful sunrise breaks over the misty, forested landscape. Satoru stands outside his tent, enjoying the pleasant morning air and a nearby bird. He begins his daily routine of morning exercises as birds fly around him. He continues his stretches, with birds playfully landing on his tent and at his feet. The rejuvenated old man completes another set of stretches under the morning sun. He hears the sound of a nearby stream, his expression turning curious. He kneels by the water's edge, pleased to have found the tranquil spot. Looking at his reflection, he marvels that he appears a full 10 years younger. After traveling through the woods, Ithril is pleased to discover a paved road. He pauses his journey, sipping a drink while admiring birds on a blossoming branch. A fellow traveler he encounters kindly points him in the direction of town. Soon he sees the town ahead, its buildings rising up a distant hill. At the main gate, a guard demands the old man present his identification papers. Ithril explains that he is merely a tourist from the rural countryside. The guard smirks, concluding the lack of papers proves he lives in nowhere. His companion expresses surprise that an old man would travel so far alone. Ithril finds their condescending attitude irritating, but considers what to do next. The guard holds up a crystal orb asking if he knows what it is. He is instructed to hold his hand over the glowing magical device. Ithril retorts with annoyance that he is not an ignoramus and understands. Despite his sharp reply, a bead of sweat shows his slight unease. The guards warn him of dangerous areas, recalling their own perilous journey. With a friendly wave, they grant him entry, welcoming him to Seoul. Walking through the streets, Ithril observes that the town seems like a nice place. The cheerful guards remind him of himself and his friends in their youth. He considers his next course of action, thinking in terms of game theory. Saluting the sky, he decides that his first destination will be the temple. The grand interior of a building, likely the temple, is shown in detail. A woman with long blonde hair compliments him on his handsome new clothes. He is startled when a voice calls out to make way for a trolley. In the town square, he observes the lively scene of commerce and playing children. He smiles, appreciating the bright and good atmosphere of the bustling town. A collector approaches him, asking for a generous donation to help orphans. Feeling he cannot refuse, Ithril drops a handful of coins into the box. He smiles, hoping his contribution will provide the children with a good meal. The collector offers a divine blessing as Ithril waves a humble farewell. He continues his walk through the town, passing under a large stone archway. Inside the temple, he stands before a beautiful, serene statue of a goddess. Offering a prayer, he thanks her and feels he can live well here. He senses the goddess's presence and silently promises to treasure this new life. After leaving the temple, he thanks a street vendor for a tasty snack. He finds the food delicious but remains contemplative as he chews. He arrives at the Peddlers Guild, a large building with banners and symbols. The stern guildmaster asks if he is lost, judging him as ordinary. A kind receptionist politely intervenes, directing him toward the registration desk. At the desk, he explains he is on a pleasure jaunt and wants to register. She asks him to pour his magic into a crystal orb for registration. Ithral leans in, intrigued by the glowing magical device he's been given. The orb pops, transforming into a sparkling, star-like shape in his hand. It then flattens, changing shape to become a rectangular identification card. Surprised by the transformation, he states that he will be dealing in foodstuffs. The receptionist warns him to obey the rules while he thanks her. She offers him words of encouragement, wishing him the best as a beginner. Back in the marketplace, he notes that the price of tea is very expensive. He approaches a vendor, asking if he can trouble him for a moment. He asks about the price of a potato, which the vendor finds strange. A young boy named Leo tells him he'll be full with just 2 potatoes. Taking a bite of a steamed potato, Ithral admits he was a bit overzealous. An elderly traveler, Ithral, turns his head, noticing a commotion on the street. A small boy named Leo sits on the ground, tearfully apologizing for an accident. The rude ruffian who bumped him glares back, harshly telling the boy to watch out. A close-up shows the disastrous result, a box of completely shattered eggs. The boy begins to cry, lamenting to his mother that he has broken the eggs. Ithral approaches the weeping child, kindly asking what happened to the precious eggs. Leo leads the old man down a path, identifying a building as his home. As they near the inn, Ithral reassures the boy they will apologize together. Inside, Leo's mother appears, furious over the ruined, unsellable eggs. Leo apologizes profusely, his face streaked with tears while Ithral looks on. His mother continues her tirade, as Ithral asks if she would be willing to listen. The old man steps in, explaining he witnessed the event and the boy is blameless. He inquires if she has oil and vinegar, suggesting a way to make the eggs sellable. With a clatter, Ithral begins to whisk the broken eggs in a bowl. He triumphantly presents a jar filled with a creamy sauce, declaring it ready. The mother skeptically tastes the unknown substance, thinking it an amateur gimmick. Her eyes widen in complete shock and amazement at the incredible flavor. Admitting it is both vexing and good, she asks where he learned to make it. Ithral smiles, explaining that it is a specialty from his village. The mother considers other uses for it as Ithral offers to teach her the recipe. She marvels that the ruined eggs could be used in such a wonderful way. Ithral accepts her thanks with a casual pop of his finger, reassuring her. In his room that night, Ithral relaxes, grateful for the lodging and preparing for tomorrow. He uses his Aso tea plantation skill to magically restock his supply of black tea. A fond memory surfaces of a child named Takumi who loved playing with tea caddies. As he falls asleep, he silently wishes for the boy's well-being. The next morning, the sun rises brightly over the town. The guildmaster is shown in utter shock at the massive quantity of tea Ithral sold. Later that evening, 2 moons hang in the night sky over the inn. In the tavern, 2 patrons discuss the old man's huge sale of tea and coffee beans. One of them speculates that the mysterious old-timer must be an outstanding scoundrel. Leo's eyes widen as he hears the potato vendor describe Ithral as a seedy-looking Gramps. The boy passionately defends the old man, insisting that Gramps is a good person. The potato vendor looks down at his meal, questioning the child's sudden outburst. The men ask Leo about the old man, suggesting he is being swindled. The potato vendor looks up from his food, intrigued by Leo's staunch defense. The next morning, Ithral greets a happy Leo as he comes downstairs. The patrons are surprised by his appearance, one noting a resemblance to his own grandfather. Leo runs to Ithral, hugging him as the others in the tavern exchange morning greetings. The boy tugs on Ithral's coat, asking with shining eyes where he is going today. Upon hearing Ithral is leaving, Leo desperately clutches his bag, pleading for him to stay. Ithral gently comforts the boy, promising that he will drop by again someday. As Ithral departs, Leo stands on the steps, tearfully reminding him of his promise. Leaving the town, Ithral walks along a forest path, passing another traveler. He pauses in a sun-dappled clearing, enjoying a quiet, peaceful moment. He sets up a small table and teapot, preparing for a relaxing cup of tea. A nearby horned rabbit's ears twitch nervously as a bird suddenly flutters away. Ithral's calm expression shifts to one of alert focus as he senses a disturbance. An elf girl, Aina, is seen running frantically through the woods, panting in terror. From his seated position, Ithral calmly counts the figures pursuing the fleeing girl. With a menacing smirk, the adventurer Guido dangles a necklace over a captive Misha. The group flees through a glowing tunnel, pursued by goblins. A spiky-haired adventurer leaps over his comrades, crying for help as goblins chase them. The stolen pendant, a small bird skull, swings ominously. Satoru touches his forehead, a look of deep concern on his face. A young girl is shown hopping gracefully away from an unseen threat. Now cornered, Misha wonders why the twitching goblins are so persistent. Thinking her end is near, Misha apologizes to her parents in despair. The goblin pack snarls with malicious glee, baring their sharp teeth. Hidden nearby, Guido smirks that his plan is working while Mina shushes him. Misha looks back in shock as a calm voice asks if she is all right. The elderly Satoru appears beside her, kindly observing her predicament. His sudden arrival startles both Misha and the confused goblins. From the bushes, the hidden adventurers question what is happening. Misha begs Satoru to run, but he asks for a small item back. He deftly retrieves a pouch from her braid, identifying it as the cause. A goblin defiantly holds up the pouch, demanding its return. Satoru casts a swamp spell, telling the sinking goblins to behave. The hidden adventurers are stunned, questioning the old man's powerful magic. He casts another spell, paralyzing the remaining goblins with arcs of electricity. He calmly reassures Misha that the paralysis is only temporary. He returns the pouch to a twitching goblin, warning it against future theft. Bewildered by his power, Misha asks who he is. He promises to explain later. Now exposed, the adventurers panic, and Mina blames Guido for being too noisy. They emerge from hiding, feigning relief that Misha is safe. Satoru confronts them, stating he saw everything, which leaves them speechless. Guido tries to threaten the old man, telling him to stop talking. Satoru gives a stern, knowing look, completely unmoved by the threat. The three adventurers are now bound together, realizing they are utterly defeated. Misha looks on, her face a mask of flustered disbelief. Now with Misha, Satoru politely asks the town gatekeeper for a moment. The gatekeeper recognizes Satoru, surprised that Gramps is back so soon. Satoru stands beside Misha, asking the guard to lend him a hand. The gatekeeper's friendly expression turns to shock as he sees the bound adventurers. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he yells for the chief and runs for help. Misha watches the gatekeeper dash off, her face a picture of confusion. The lead adventurer, Guido, chuckles with a smug, knowing expression. Satoru touches his chin thoughtfully, sensing that trouble is brewing. The adventurers are shown dragging their now bound captives through the town. The gatekeeper glances over at Satoru, noting the situation is being handled. Guido angrily urges his companions to hurry, fearing for their lives. Misha observes the scene, grimly concluding that all human countries are the same. Satoru watches impassively as the adventurers struggle with their bound prisoners. From a distance, the gatekeeper asks if Gramps and the girl are unharmed. Satoru cryptically advises Misha that she should leave before things go south. A young boy peeks through a wooden fence, watching the strange procession. The gatekeeper explains to Satoru that they cannot touch the high-profile prisoners. Guido adjusts his bracer, a confident smirk on his face. A heavy wooden door slams shut with a resounding thud. Misha lets out a frightened yelp, startled by their sudden imprisonment. In a sparse room, Misha confronts Satoru, questioning why they were detained. She begins to cry, blaming herself for bringing trouble upon him. A cheerful boy enters, announcing that a man has come to see Grandpa. The visitor holds a basket of sandwiches, clearing his throat to get their attention. He introduces himself with a stern expression as the town's adventurer guildmaster. Misha stands nervously behind Satoru, who maintains a calm, observant demeanor. The guildmaster sarcastically asks if they came to apologize for the adventurer's actions. A nearby gatekeeper quietly advises Satoru to be careful with his words. Misha watches the confrontation with a serious and worried expression. She steps forward, asserting their right to be considered innocent until proven guilty. Her face shows shock and disbelief at the guildmaster's sharp retort. He counters her claim, stating his sources say they were the ambushers. Satoru whisks tea, calmly asking if the adventurer's record isn't proof enough. The guildmaster challenges this, questioning how they could prove it was fabricated. Misha offers the guildmaster a bowl of tea, suggesting it will calm him. She presents the bowl with a determined stare, as Satoru comments on his own calm. The guildmaster skeptically accepts the bowl and brings it to his lips. He immediately recoils, his face contorted in disgust by the tea's bitterness. With a slight smile, Satoru asks the sputtering man if he is calm now. The guildmaster regains his composure, stating a confession would lighten their punishment. The gatekeeper and inn-boy lean around a corner, secretly listening to the exchange. He then admits he is not entirely ignorant of the adventurer's scheme. Misha and Satoru listen intently as the guildmaster starts to explain. He reveals that what happened to them is part of a usual corrupt deal. He explains the adventurers instigate incidents to get rewards and rank points. Satoru, looking unimpressed, remarks that the entire scheme is outrageous. The guildmaster acknowledges Satoru's point as Misha listens to their discussion. Satoru looks out the window, ominously suggesting the next victim might not be so kind. He continues his veiled threat, musing that the forest is a scary place. The guildmaster gulps nervously, a bead of sweat on his brow. He promises to give the adventurers the harshest punishment from the guild. As he leaves, the guildmaster declares he will make them withdraw their complaint. He thinks to himself that Satoru is one scary old man. Satoru offers a warm, reassuring smile to a surprised Misha. Misha asks if the matter is resolved, while the inn boy happily takes a sandwich. The inn boy is surprised to see Satoru and Misha in the common room. The gatekeeper and others greet Satoru, congratulating him on his success. They playfully pat Satoru on the back, acknowledging that he outsmarted them. Misha sits at a desk, writing in her journal that the suspicion was cleared. She reflects that they received unofficial retribution, finding a way to counter a flawed system. In another scene, a long-haired man asks a young girl, Luce, for her opinion. The man begins to comment on Satoru's character. Luce blushes, replying that Satoru is a capable man. A new day dawns with the sun rising brightly over the landscape. The gatekeeper and inn boy wish the departing Satoru and Misha good luck. Satoru thanks them with a wave as a smiling Misha stands beside him. In the forest, Misha screams as she is suddenly swarmed by small, furry monsters. She had been gathering mushrooms and berries while Satoru waited nearby. Satoru calmly casts a barrier spell, creating a protective dome around them. Tall pine trees sway gently in the wind, signaling the continuation of their journey. An elderly man, Satoru, points out the beautiful sunrise to his young companion. The elf girl, Misha, expresses her delight at the coffee's excellent taste, making him chuckle. While they are camping, she asks about his past, and he reveals he was a tea dealer. She points towards a river, but he recalls she pointed the opposite way just moments ago. With an awkward smile, she admits that she has a very poor sense of direction. He decides to check the forest layout himself, preparing a spell with his finger. A detailed map materializes magically before him, much to his companion's surprise. The elf girl lets out a gasp of pure shock at the powerful display of magic. He glances over at her, questioning her surprise with a simple, inquisitive sound. She marvels at his ability to cast such a clear map chantlessly. He claims to be a mage. Curious about his origins, she asks if his home is a very, very long way from here. He smiles, complimenting her good deduction and suggesting a god is the only logical explanation. She asks why he didn't become younger upon reincarnation. He explains he got 10 years back. She notes that all other reincarnated people got much younger in the records. She wonders aloud if all humans desire rejuvenation, admitting it's a strange thought for an elf. He looks thoughtful, pondering her question about the universal human desire for youth. She takes another sip of her coffee, noting that it is quite hot. She declares with a flourish that she can't buy coffee this good anywhere else. In a strange vision, the old man sits at a modern desk with a glowing laptop. Two objects labeled Get fall from the sky, leaving Misha looking completely confused. A group of rough-looking bandits emerges from the woods, laughing at the careless geezer. The bandits walk past, one of them casually dismissing the situation as they move on. Unfazed by the encounter, Satoru tells Misha that it is time for them to go. They arrive at the edge of a village and he remarks it's now time to part ways. He thanks the lassie for the pleasant journey as another traveler passes by them. Misha asks with curiosity if the man who just walked past did something unusual. Satoru observes the man's deep footprints, noting they are too heavy for an empty basket. Misha understands the implication, realizing the man is carrying a hidden heavy load. Inside a village inn, a man at the counter welcomes them and asks if they plan to stay. Satoru, with Misha just behind him, politely requests 2 spare rooms from the innkeeper. The innkeeper is seen carefully sweeping the wooden floor of his establishment. He explains with a friendly smile that they have only just reopened for business. He elaborates that the village was attacked by bandits, but thankfully no one was killed. Satoru listens to the news with a serious, thoughtful expression, letting out a soft hum. A man with a dark ponytail expresses his fear that the bandits might come back. He tells Satoru that they passed a shady young man at the gate, causing concern. Misha speaks to a village woman, suggesting that Satoru might be able to help them. The innkeeper asks Satoru if he will hear them out, offering to gather the others. Satoru considers the request, a contemplative look on his face as he decides. A voice from off-panel calls out for Gramps against a cloudy gray sky. In a clearing, Satoru sits calmly as a huge wasp buzzes nearby, shocking Misha. He calmly holds up a map and presses his index finger on a specific spot. The giant wasp is instantly zapped with a powerful bolt of electricity, crying out in shock. Misha is astonished, asking if he can really do things like that with just a map. A man jokes about the peaceful display, asking if Satoru is some kind of bug catcher. A small girl approaches Satoru and directly asks him if he is strong. Her eyes fill with tears as she explains that the bad people hurt her mother. Satoru smiles kindly, reassuring the worried child that he will of course help. Night falls over the village with 2 moons shining brightly above the rooftops. Villagers evacuate towards the church, worriedly asking if the bandits are returning. The elderly magician Asao-san informs his elf companion, Miri, that the bandits have arrived. A magical map reveals the bandits' positions, showing a large gang surrounding the village. Raising his staff, Asao casts a spell, calling forth a protective barrier. Miri watches in awe as the immense magical barrier envelops the entire village. A villager looks out her window, wondering about the strange, glowing light outside. Staring up at the dome of light, 2 men question if it is divine protection. With a confident smile, Asao announces it is time to begin their defense. 2 bandits hiding in the woods spot the glowing dome, curious about its source. The bandit leader grins, believing the shiny light must be a cache of treasure. Eager for loot, the bandits charge toward the village as Asao and Miri wait. Asao prepares another spell while Miri nervously watches the approaching bandits. A powerful jolt of magic erupts from the ground with a loud bang. Asao coolly notes their successful start as the bandits twitch on the ground. A lone bandit frantically runs back to his camp, yelling about unforeseen trouble. He breathlessly reports to his shocked boss that their hidden forces were defeated. The leader is angered to hear the culprit was just a weird geezer. He dismissively vows to cut the old man to pieces as he approaches. Asao's boots are shown walking steadily and calmly towards the bandit camp. Peeking over a rock, Asao and Miri scout the main bandit encampment. The bandit leader spots them, ordering his men to capture the valuable elf. As the remaining bandits charge, Asao calmly raises his staff to cast another spell. He unleashes a paralyzing spell, striking down the charging bandits with magic. The bandit leader grits his teeth, managing to withstand the paralyzing magic. He grins triumphantly, believing he has overcome the old man's magic. Miri is stunned that the powerful spell had no effect on the leader. He lunges with his sword, boasting that Asao's magic is useless against him. Miri cries out in fear, unable to watch the seemingly fatal attack. With a simple tap to the forehead, Asao impossibly stops the leader's attack. Peeking through her fingers, Miri is confused by the impossible defense she witnessed. The shocked leader is sent flying backward by a seemingly light blow, boasting that Asao's magic is useless against him. Miri cries out in fear, unable to watch the seemingly fatal attack. With a simple tap to the forehead, Asao impossibly stops the leader's attack. Peeking through her fingers, Miri is confused by the impossible defense she witnessed. The shocked leader is sent flying backward by a seemingly light blow. The bandit leader stumbles back, shocked by the force of the gentle tap. Miri watches with wide-eyed disbelief, utterly bewildered by Asao's casual power. The leader insults Asao's move as sluggish, ignoring his fallen comrades. Gritting his teeth in frustration, the bandit leader curses his opponent's strength. He furiously attacks again, screaming for the old man to just die already. Asao easily blocks the sword, calmly noting the leader has some resistance. He casts a binding spell, declaring it punishment for the bandit's crimes. The defeated leader curses Asao, powerless in his magical restraints. Miri, flustered by the overwhelming display, furiously scribbles notes in her journal. Asao announces it is time to return, leading the floating bandits back. Villagers gather in shock, one recognizing a bandit who had robbed a store. Asao floats the captives over the crowd, asking them to let him through. The villagers stare in stunned silence, completely awestruck by the sight. The village headman asks Asao if he was responsible for capturing the bandits. The mayor arrives, pointing to the captives and asking if this was his work. A grateful villager asks if he was the one who protected their village. Asao humbly admits that he supposes he was the one who helped them. A little girl expresses her profound gratitude for his help. She holds a small, intricate charm, a symbol of her gratitude and relief. The little girl runs joyfully towards Asao, calling him Grandpa with affection. With tears of gratitude, a young girl offers her heartfelt thanks. Beside Asao-san, the village mayor nods in solemn agreement. Asao kindly accepts her thanks, responding that she is welcome. The mayor then offers to teach Asao something, asking for his attention. Eagerly, Asao declares that he is ready and willing to listen. That night, an imposing mansion stands silhouetted behind its large gates. A maid named Lydia stands at a door, requesting entry to see her master. Inside, she reports to Master Ori that she has successfully found the item. From her master's viewpoint, Lydia explains that there is a problem. Ori scoffs at the news, questioning the mention of a geezer in a pointy hat. Lydia regards her master with a cold, knowing look on her face. With a menacing grin, Ori declares the old man should prepare to die. A large mound of dough is slapped down forcefully onto a table. A young woman gasps, startled by the sudden loud sound. With intense concentration, Asao begins to expertly knead the dough. His elf companion, Miri, watches in awe, wiping sweat from her brow. The little girl's parents observe the strange cooking display with concerned looks. The villagers, including a dazed mayor, stare in utter confusion. They whisper amongst themselves, noting he is making something other than bread. Asao's hands deftly cut the prepared dough into thick, even noodles. The fresh noodles bubble and cook in a large pot of boiling water. A steaming bowl, filled with noodles and mushrooms, is presented as ready. The villagers curiously gaze at the unfamiliar, steaming brown dish. The mayor's eyes widen as he tastes it, declaring it delicious. He marvels that this is food from Asao's homeland. The mayor insists on negotiating a reward from the feudal lord for him. Asao politely declines, explaining that it wouldn't feel right to him. He states that it is an old person's duty to help the young. The mayor spots the headman dashing toward them over a nearby hill. The headman arrives with a message from the city of Foss about the gang. Asao looks on with a puzzled expression, wondering about the news. The mayor urgently warns him to hide his valuables from the coming envoy. He explains that the local lord, Oswald, is a notoriously greedy man. Asao sighs, thinking to himself that it seems to be the same everywhere. Later, he and the mayor watch the village children playing happily. Two of the children laugh as they playfully duel with sticks. The adults observe the carefree children, noting how they have tagged along. Asao expresses his wish that the world will change when they grow up. Later, Asao and the mayor sit down to discuss defensive strategies. Asao suggests fortifying one place instead of the entire village. Miri agrees, proposing they form and train a militia squad right away. The mayor worries about organizing this without their enemies finding out. Asao confidently suggests just letting them know, as gangs avoid trouble. The mayor and Miri concede that his logic is sound. The elf girl cheerfully pours cups of tea for the group. The mayor asks Asao if he served in the army before becoming a mage. Asao clarifies that he was a farmer who grew tea, not a mage. He offers his own homegrown tea, and the mayor is captivated by its aroma. As the mayor brings the cup to his lips, Asao calls it normal tea. The mayor's eye widens in utter shock after tasting the incredible brew. The village chief takes a blissful sip, remarking on the tea from Seidaru's planter. Mina expresses her delight, while the chief praises the tea's superior taste and aroma. Changing subjects, the chief explains his village's farming struggles and asks for advice. Seidaru thoughtfully strokes his goatee, pondering the problem of the fields. He suggests using fallen leaves to create a nutrient-rich humus for fertilizer. The chief, amazed by the idea, eagerly starts taking notes with a quill. Seidaru adds that mixing in soot from their stoves would also be beneficial. With his lesson finished, Seidaru holds his teacup, concluding his advice. Overcome with gratitude, the chief vows to immediately share this valuable knowledge. Seidaru's demeanor turns serious as he brings up the subject of the stolen loot. The village chief is visibly startled by the sudden shift in conversation. He breaks into a nervous sweat while trying to appear composed. The chief admits the amount and kind of loot differs from the official report. Glancing at the open chest, Seidaru observes the variety is twice what was claimed. The two men sit across from each other, the sparkling treasure chest between them. In a lighter moment, Seidaru and an elf girl hand out fruit to children. A fishing bobber dips below the water surface, indicating a successful catch. Village children gather excitedly around Seidaru as he holds up a fresh fish. While near the water, Seidaru is alerted by the chief running towards him. The chief pants that people from the city of Foss have just arrived. Seidaru looks up from his task, a puzzled expression on his face. Two imposing figures, Gold and Jolk, stride purposefully into the village area. The villagers watch from a distance as the important-looking men approach. A white cat observes the newcomers with wide, curious eyes. The villagers recognize the men as the guildmaster and garrison commander from Foss. Gold greets Seidaru with a friendly salute, addressing him as the rumored old man. He mentions hearing that Seidaru single-handedly subdued the gang with his magic. Seidaru quietly confirms that the rumor is indeed true. Gold introduces himself and states he has come to collect the robbers' loot. He asks Seidaru to entrust all of the recovered treasure to him. The villagers look on, one man muttering that the request is shameless. Satoru, with a calm and knowing smile, agrees without any hesitation. Gold is visibly surprised by the old man's immediate compliance. Jilk, his armored companion, watches the exchange with a cold, stoic expression. The village chief lets out a quiet sigh of relief at the peaceful outcome. Satoru suggests that he can hand over the treasure right away. The scene transitions to a dark forest at night. As they walk, Gold remarks on how unexpectedly agreeable the old man was. Jilk warns Gold not to underestimate a man who would defy a feudal lord. Jilk suddenly stops his companion, telling him to look ahead. Gold looks up, his expression turning from relaxed to puzzled. Satoru and his cat stand on a bridge, silhouetted against the moon. Gold wonders what the old man is doing as Jilk tells him to look around. They spot shadowy assassins hiding in the trees along the riverbanks. Gold realizes with alarm that they are surrounded by assassins. Jilk grabs Gold's arm, stating his belief that Satoru sent the assassins. Gold looks back at Jilk, his face a mask of disbelief. He angrily asks if Jilk is suggesting they abandon the old man. Jilk remains firm, his expression stern and unwavering in his assessment. On the riverbank, the assassins realize they have been spotted. Two assassins hiding in the trees spot their targets, with one urging the other to attack. Satoru, with his small white cat, turns his head, having sensed the approaching danger. On a wooden bridge, a chaotic ambush unfolds as assassins attack Satoru's companions. One spiky-haired assassin viciously grabs the adventurer Gold from behind, holding a knife to his throat. Gold grits his teeth as another assassin's blade rushes towards his undefended side. He retaliates, throwing one attacker off just as another leaps down from above. Jilk shouts a desperate warning to Gold as another enemy closes in to strike. Satoru's cat watches the fight, a single bead of sweat on its startled face. A female assassin looks on in shock as one of her comrades is sent flying. Held from behind, Satoru calmly points a finger and utters a single word of magic. Jilk cries out in confusion, wondering why he was also affected by the paralysis spell. Gold tells Satoru the situation was dangerous, but the old man seems entirely unconcerned. With his head in his hands, Gold recognizes the paralyzed attackers as members of his own guild. Jilk grimly realizes that his own party was the one in true danger, not Satoru. Gold begins to explain the situation, but Satoru quietly tells him there's no need. With a bead of sweat, Gold admits to himself that his plan was completely unreasonable. Jilk, looking determined, decides they must bring the powerful elder to the city of Foss. Satoru gazes up at the two moons in the night sky, a thoughtful hum escaping him. A small crowd of villagers, including a child, gathers to see Satoru and his party off. The young boy looks up at the old man, sadly asking if his grandpa is leaving. The captured assassins are bound together, floating magically behind their captor. Satoru smiles kindly, reassuring the boy that he will be back and telling him to be good. The villagers watch as Satoru, Gold, and Jilk prepare to depart from the village gate. Just as they leave, a voice calls out Satoru's name, causing him to turn. The elf woman, Mina, runs down the village street, determined to catch them. She arrives, slightly out of breath, and happily presents a cloth-wrapped bundle to Satoru. With a proud smile, Mina explains that she made the gift herself using his recipe. Satoru looks at the offered bundle with a surprised and touched expression. He unwraps the cloth, revealing a neat bundle of udon noodles nestled inside. Mina explains she used wind magic to dry the noodles so they would keep well. An old man in the crowd clenches his fist, impressed by her ingenious idea. Satoru smiles warmly, thanking Mina for the thoughtful gift and wishing her well. With a final wave, Satoru and his companions depart, leaving the villagers behind. As they travel, Satoru estimates a 6-day journey, though Gold mutters it will take longer. Gold continues to complain about the long journey, especially since it's a round trip. Night falls in the forest, and an owl is silhouetted against the two moons. The group makes camp, and even the captured assassins are fed by the fire. Jilk dryly observes that the prisoners have a good appetite for men in their situation. Gold argues that even criminals shouldn't starve, but complains about the burden of carrying their food. The camera focuses on the crackling campfire as Gold finishes his thought about the extra food. Satoru, sipping tea, casually suggests using his inventory magic to store the provisions. Jilk looks over at the old man, his expression one of silent, stoic surprise. Gold, however, looks on with shocked intrigue, repeating the word inventory in disbelief. A silhouetted tree against the night sky marks the passage of time on their journey. At their next camp, Jilk remarks from the shadows that the old man is incredibly powerful. While Satoru sleeps soundly on a bedroll, His 4 prisoners hang suspended from a tree branch. Joke watches the sleeping mage, wondering aloud about the elder's true identity and origins. Gold, also observing Satoru, concludes that at the very least he doesn't seem like a bad person. Around the campfire, Gold prods the logs, asking what their next move will be. Joke states their objective with grim determination: to prove the corruption of the local lord. By a campfire at night, Gold vents his frustration about their target, calling the lord a mere crook. He is suddenly startled by a voice from behind announcing that it is time to switch watch. Asao, refreshed from his nap, cheerfully offers his 2 companions some freshly brewed tea. High in a tree, 4 captured bandits hang bound together against the starry night sky. One of the bandits awakens, groggily realizing that they are now on the ground. He discovers that the rope that had once bound them has been completely cut. Asao watches with a weary expression as the 4 freed bandits quickly make their escape. His expression is one of tired resignation as he observes their hasty departure into the woods. As the sun begins to rise, he lets out a simple, exasperated sound of disbelief. Gold's enraged voice questions how Asao could have let their prisoners escape while he slept. Asao offers a sheepish, apologetic smile, scratching the back of his head in response. The severed rope lies discarded on the ground, the only remaining evidence of their captives. Gold despairs, wondering aloud how they can possibly make a report without any proof. Joke calmly asks if the Lord's underlings did any harm or if the loot is safe. Asao apologizes, explaining he has safely stored everything in his magical inventory. As a small apology for the incident, he prepares a steaming pot of fresh noodles. Gold expresses his disbelief, questioning how they can possibly eat at a time like this. Joke, however, finds the aroma enticing and begins. Asao offers a sheepish, apologetic smile, scratching the back of his head in response. The severed rope lies discarded on the ground, the only remaining evidence of their captives. Gold despairs, wondering aloud how they can possibly make a report without any proof. Joke calmly asks if the Lord's underlings did any harm or if the loot is safe. Asao apologizes, explaining he has safely stored everything in his magical inventory. As a small apology for the incident, he prepares a steaming pot of fresh noodles. Gold expresses his disbelief, questioning how they can possibly eat at a time like this. Joke, however, finds the aroma enticing and begins to eat the delicious-looking meal. Despite his earlier protests, Gold is soon seen eating the noodles with great enthusiasm. His face is a mask of pure shock and delight at the food's incredible taste. Joke continues to eat calmly, remarking on how good the noodles are. Asao watches his companions with a quiet, satisfied smile. Pleased they are enjoying it. As they travel, Gold again asks about their report, but Asao simply tells him to wait. Joke announces their arrival as they approach the large gates of a walled town. The massive stone gate looms before them, marking the entrance to the city of Foss. Asao looks up and asks his companions to trust him and leave everything to him. Gold and Joke exchange a silent, uncertain look, unsure of what to make of his plan. Later, Gold slams his hands on a counter, furiously demanding to know where Asao went. A receptionist calmly informs him that there is a message for him and his companion. She relays Asao's message, asking them to wait until he returns from the Commerce Guild. Gold clutches his head in frustration, wondering what the old man is possibly thinking. He shouts in exasperation, reminding his companion that they are opposing a feudal lord. Joke apologizes, explaining he has other important plans and cannot wait with him. On a rainy city street, people with umbrellas hurry past a quiet building. Inside the Commerce Guild of Foss, Asao meets with 2 of its high-ranking members. A woman named Calf carefully examines one of Asao's coffee beans with a magnifying glass. He prepares a pour-over coffee, commenting on its brilliant and inviting aroma. Asao smiles, confidently stating that the taste of the coffee is also very nice. Calfee asks about the bean's origin, to which Asao vaguely replies they are from his homeland. The 2 guild members raise their small cups to taste the freshly brewed coffee. They are both stunned by the delicious taste, their eyes wide with surprise. The man exclaims that its aroma and color put even the highest-grade beans to shame. Asao begins negotiations, suggesting a price of 150,000 for 100 lanka of beans. Calf's expression becomes sharp and serious, indicating her disagreement with his low offer. She declares his price is too cheap, having never seen such magnificent beans before. She counters with a much higher price, leaving Asao to feign surprise at the offer. Her associate agrees, stating that beans of such high quality deserve that price. Asao maintains a thoughtful expression, considering the generous counteroffer from the guild. He then leans forward, telling them he has another product to show them. He places a large sealed glass jar of instant coffee granules on the table. The man looks on in shock as Asao pours hot water into the strange contraption. In the cup, the dark, rich liquid swirls as a voice questions if it's grated coffee. An astounded Calf questions how he kept the secret, but Asao explains its simple nature. Calf, recognizing the product's value, enthusiastically declares they must make a business deal. On a rainy street, Asao proposes. They move on to confirming the goods for business. Asao requests a moment of their time, his business partners observing him from behind. Elsewhere, a man and woman are seen conversing amidst a forest of tall, thin trees. The woman's determined and focused expression is shown in a tight, close-up view. With a questioning look, Asao turns his head slightly, appearing somewhat puzzled. Standing behind large sacks of money, the guild members confirm the agreed-upon payment amount. Her associate presents the payment as Calf warmly thanks Asao for making the deal. With a satisfied smile, Asao accepts their thanks and agrees it was a good deal. The old man gestures, letting his new partners know he has another matter to discuss. Asao explains he needs information on the town, prompting Calf to suggest a new location. Walking through the rain, his associate warns Asao to watch his step on the path. Against the downpour, the three travelers hold their umbrellas tightly to stay dry. The panel focuses on the heavy downpour, with rain streaking down from the sky. The man suggests a cafe for their talk, and Asao agrees to the location. Seated at a table, Asao notes the high price of coffee, and his partner praises the cookies. Tasting the local coffee, the man finds it bitter and of much lower quality. The man laments that the truly excellent coffee is reserved for the town's nobility. Asao begins his inquiry, stating he wishes to ask about the feudal lord of this town. Startled, his companions exchange a look, and the man confirms the name Ori Oswald. While a waiter serves Asao, Calfe asks him to elaborate on his interest in Oswald. Her associate looks away, cautiously beginning to share a rumor he heard about the lord. The story begins with the recently captured thief gang being transported into the town. As Asao cuts his food, the man reveals the lord had them all executed at once. Looking shocked, Calf adds that there was no time for interrogation before the execution. The old man listens with a serious expression, humming as he processes the information. Calf explains the lord's shady reputation and asks if Asao can provide any information. The old man reveals his involvement in the business as a small cat playfully appears. As the cat rubs against him, he explains he captured thieves in a lord's village. The associate realizes the lord must have executed the gang to cover up his involvement. The man's dark suspicion is confirmed with a grim image of the bandits' severed heads. The old man appears content, having confirmed the information he was seeking from them. The hidden motive becomes clear to Calf as her partner continues to eat his food. Calfie wonders why he avoided the guards, but Asao says he has the info he needs. With a knowing smile, he explains his trust in competent business partners like them. Her associate gratefully thanks Asao for his trust, as Calf looks on with a smile. Just then, Gold arrives at the cafe, having finally tracked down the old man. Looking exasperated, Gold explains how much trouble he went through to find the old man. Gold retorts that he and Jilk aren't inseparable after Asao asks for his whereabouts. The two guild members listen quietly, slightly taken aback by Gold's abrupt appearance. With a serious expression, Gold reminds Asao that he is courting danger by being there. The associate tries to calm Calf down as a waitress brings a chair for Gold. Gold accepts their offer to have a seat and joins the group at their table. Taking his seat, Gold looks visibly stressed, still flustered by the circumstances. Amused by the scene, Calf hides a laugh behind her hand as her partner watches. Eager to share more, the associate leans in to tell Asao another interesting rumor. The man shares a rumor he has heard about the lord's frightening parlor maid. The elderly magician, Asao, looks up with a thoughtful expression, questioning the mention of a maid. A woman explains a long-standing rumor about the feudal lord's personality changing due to a maid's influence. The feudal lord Ori turns to Asao at the table, demanding an explanation for his words. An angry man asks if Asao revealed everything, but Asao calmly promises to explain later. Beside a yawning cat, Asao cryptically remarks that there is no smoke without a fire. With a knowing smirk, he anticipates seeing the expressions of the lord and his maid. The scene flashes back to a dark and rainy night at the lord's grand mansion. Inside, the head maid Mari holds a whip with a cold, calculating look on her face. She approaches a group of kneeling, chained adventurers, demanding to hear their excuses. Their leader, Gold, watches from his chair with a smug, chuckling expression. One of the chained adventurers desperately protests that their target was not alone as promised. Mari coldly dismisses his complaint with a single indifferent remark, asking, "So what?" The sharp crack of a whip echoes as the captive adventurer cries out in pain. She interrogates the man, asking if he brought back any gems or simply returned empty-handed. Gold laughs with delight at the scene, while Mari mockingly suggests beheading them all. The captive man and a blonde female adventurer look up in absolute terror, shackled and helpless. Mari gives a sharp sideways glance before continuing her line of questioning. She then reassures a now sweating Gold that she was only kidding. Mari turns her attention to a different captive, asking about the old man in question. The adventurer explains that the old man is a user of strong support magic. Holding a wilted flower, Mari proposes a plan to take the old man's staff. The adventurer listens intently, a determined look on her face as Mari asks her opinion. She simply acknowledges the plan, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and understanding. Without warning, Mari violently slams the adventurer's head against the wall with a sickening thud. Leaning in close, Mari menacingly asks if the woman expects her to clean up her mess. Gold winces, muttering that the wall is taking a beating once again. The scene returns to the present day, showing a wide shot of the mansion at night. Inside the grand foyer, maids are cleaning as a man walks past with a tray. One maid asks another if Master Ori is in, who replies that he is busy. Another staff member notes a suspicious person is asking for the master, so the butler investigates. The large butler approaches the ornate front gate as someone knocks from outside. Opening the gate, the butler gruffly asks the visitor for his identity. Asao tips his conical hat, expressing relief that the gate has finally been opened. The butler questions the elder's business, his expression stern and unwelcoming. Asao states his purpose is to meet the Lord and asks the butler to announce him. The butler informs him that Master Oswald does not see anyone without a previous arrangement. With a stern look, the butler curtly tells the old man to turn back. Peeking through the closing gate, Asao politely asks him to at least relay his message. Asao confidently states that he is certain the master would want to meet him. The butler stands flustered and annoyed, wondering how to handle the insistent old man. Mari appears at the butler's side, calmly offering to relay the message for him. The scene shifts to a quiet, well-appointed hallway inside the impressive mansion. Mari leads Asao into a waiting room, telling him to wait there for a moment. She gives a slight, knowing bow before leaving him alone in the room. Asao sits patiently in the waiting room, surrounded by fine furniture and art. He waits for a moment, letting out a small, almost imperceptible sigh. Mari returns carrying a tray with a teacup, excusing her intrusion. With a pleasant smile, she offers him a cup of freshly brewed tea. Asao accepts the tea, thanking her and saying he will have some. He takes a sip, immediately recognizing the distinct and familiar aroma of the tea. Asao sips his tea, recognizing its familiar aroma from a previous gift. Observing the headmaid, his expression becomes wary and thoughtful. Mari returns his gaze with a subtle, confident grin. With a sharp, knowing glance, Asao assesses the tense atmosphere. In a grand hall, Mari speaks of her master Oswald's supposed concern for his people. Asao voices his worry that his interference might bring trouble to the village. With a slight smile, Mari replies that she certainly hopes not. Her expression turns cold as she delivers a veiled, ominous threat about accidents. Suddenly, a group of aggressive adventurers bursts through the doors of the hall. Mari stands beside Asao, asking what he sees before him. Their leader, Gold, mockingly asks if the old man has made some mistake. A nervous female adventurer warns her master to be careful around Asao. Asao looks on with a calm, weary expression, taking in the scene. Gold dismissively declares that Asao is nothing more than a puny old man. He lunges forward, punching Asao and aggressively demanding an answer. Gold's face contorts with surprise at the sudden turn of events. Asao is sent flying, crying out as he hits the floor. From the ground, Asao grabs Gold's leg, repeating Mari's earlier ominous warning. Stunned and enraged, Gold furiously orders his party to kill the old man. The adventurers charge forward, weapons drawn, to attack the fallen Asao. Watching from the side, Mari smirks, calling the adventurers fools for interfering. Asao calmly raises his staff, its tip beginning to glow with magical energy. Spiky-haired adventurer tells his team not to worry and to just take the staff. A close-up shows Asao's eye, narrowed with focus and immense power. The blonde woman gathers energy and unleashes a powerful fireball spell. Gold shouts in alarm, concerned about the potential damage to the mansion. A massive explosion engulfs the area where Asao was on the floor. The spiky-haired man eagerly asks if their attack was successful. Smoke and dust from the explosion begin to settle in part. Asao is revealed unharmed and casually smoking a cigarette. The blonde adventurer stares in absolute shock, calling him a monster. He calmly adjusts his hat, explaining it's just support magic. The adventurer rallies his team, insisting they can overwhelm a support magician. Asao cryptically remarks that it all depends on how you use it. Mari watches the unfolding events with an expression of cold amusement. He casts spells to float and bind the entire attacking party. The spiky-haired man is disarmed and sent flying helplessly into the air. Asao's magic pins the entire group of adventurers against the wall. Mari's form is distorted by the immense force of the magical blast. The powerful magic surges past Asao's head, aimed at the adventurers. The impact blows out the side of the mansion in a massive explosion. Outside the mansion, birds scatter as the building erupts with force. Gold, lying on the floor, realizes with terror what has just happened. Mari, smirking, asks the old man what he is doing now. Gold stammers in disbelief. Gold lies defeated on the floor, looking up in complete shock. With a worried expression, the feudal Lord Ori informs the old man that the situation is bad. The headmaid, Mari, offers a sinister and knowing grin in the midst of the chaos. Looking on, the adventurer leader Gold also grins with malicious intent. Unfazed by the surrounding tension, the elderly magician Asao calmly exhales. In the disheveled hall, Ori stands over defeated Gold, questioning his subordinate's actions. Ori angrily accuses Asao of acting thoughtlessly, but the old man coolly states this was the intended result. With a sly look, Asao suggests Ori observe more closely, revealing he has neutralized the threat. He then addresses the paralyzed Gold on the floor, telling him to step aside, which leaves Ori stunned. A portly lord arrives, asking Ori about the flashy old man involved in the incident. Ori looks down at Jilk, questioning why the commander's present. The portly lord speaks, directly addressing Ori by name, with a tone of authority. Elsewhere, a man in a fur-collared coat lets out a frightened yelp. The lord berates his nephew, Mr. Gold, Ori, for his incompetence. Just in time, Adir and Jilk appear, expressing their relief at their timely arrival. Asao confronts his nephew, asking if he was underestimated as just an easygoing geezer. An armored man gives a sharp command, ordering his subordinates to take care of the others. A man in a suit declares he will no longer be responsible for the fur-coated man. Spotting the maid Marie standing silently nearby, Jilk calls out to her. In response, the maid turns with a cold, sinister smile on her face. Jilk is visibly startled and shocked by her menacing expression. The assassin maid attacks, throwing projectiles that explode and send Jilk flying. Her assault throws the entire group into disarray within the wide hall. Jilk confirms he is all right, warning the others that she possesses hidden weapons. From a garter on her thigh, the maid retrieves another set of projectiles. With a look of serious determination, Asao steps forward to confront her. The maid lunges, telling them to move aside as she presses her attack. Asao instantly erects a shimmering magical barrier, blocking her knife with a sharp chink. Watching the attack fail, Ori curses in frustration and anger. The maid throws more explosives, but they detonate harmlessly against the magical shield. Ori shouts an order to Jilk, demanding he capture the assassin. The maid offers a slight, confident smile as Jilk closes in. Jilk approaches her, stating his reluctance to kill women. His punch is stopped with a loud clank against an unseen defense. The maid's eye glints as she prepares for her final, desperate move. In her hand, she reveals a small, hissing explosive device. Asao's eyes widen as he recognizes the object with sudden alarm. The device detonates in a blinding, silent flash of white light. A massive explosion engulfs the mansion, blowing out the walls with a tremendous bang. In the aftermath, the sun shines down peacefully on the quiet town. Later, Gold and Jilk debrief, with Gold remarking on the maid's shocking suicide bombing. Gold theorizes that a bastard was controlling the Lord, while Jilk simply notes it all worked out. With admiration, Gold recalls how Asao instantly created a barrier to protect everyone. Jilk adds that Asao also saved the Lord and even sold him some valuable beans. Gold playfully asks Jilk why he wasn't told things, and Jilk retorts that he is too easy to read. Mid-bite, Gold is caught completely off guard by his companion's sharp comment. He vehemently denies being so predictable, though Jilk's smirk suggests otherwise. Their conversation is interrupted by a soldier reporting the completion of his training. Jilk and Adir approach Gold, who is seated alone at an outdoor table. Adir politely greets Mr. Gold before asking about Mr. Asao's whereabouts. Gold informs her that the old man is not there, his next destination unknown. A woman named Adir reacts with shock as a man explains Mr. Asao's destination. The man reveals reports of a maid-like woman seen near the Wood Dungeon's road. Gazing at the vast overgrown dungeon, Adir anxiously wonders if Mr. Sao will be safe. Within the ancient ruins, Mr. Asao observes his crumbling surroundings with a thoughtful expression. Scratching his head in frustration, Asao admits to himself that he is completely lost. The scene shifts to the quaint Burke-Inn cafeteria in the town of Foss. Near a well in the inn's yard, two young girls are playing together. Silsel proudly presents a dirt-covered potato, explaining how to fry it in oil. Her older sister Asli, confused, asks for the meaning of the word fry. From a distance, their mother and another man watch the chattering children with smiles. Silsil looks up at her sister, curiously asking when that grandpa will be returning. Her older sister Ali looks away with a thoughtful, slightly concerned expression. The two girls ponder the grandpa's whereabouts, a thought bubble showing his face. Ali recalls with a start that he mentioned going to the forest dungeon. Their mother's story is illustrated with a childlike drawing of spooky, growling monsters. She dramatically warns that ghosts appear in the dungeon and will eat them. Overhearing them, their mother approaches with plates, asking what they are doing. Silsel, now worried, asks her mother if the grandpa will be okay there. The mother suggests that the dungeon might be too dangerous for the grandpa alone. Her words cause the two girls to gasp, their faces filled with shock. With a mischievous grin, the mother concludes he might just get eaten by a ghost. The two girls let out a synchronized cry of distress, terrified for their friend. Panicking, Silsel suggests they ask Uncle Gold to help save the grandpa. Before they can act, Ali bolts from the inn, running towards the forest. She dashes through the spooky woods with incredible speed, determined to find him. A rustling sound comes from the bushes deep within the ancient dungeon ruins. Hearing the noise, the lost Mr. Asao turns his head to investigate its source. He stands alone on a path, peering into the overgrown, vine-choked stone structures. Asao lets out a soft sigh, looking around with a slightly weary expression. He continues to scan his surroundings, his face showing a mix of confusion and concern. A sudden gust of wind rushes past him, startling him on the path. Another rustling sound emanates from the shadowy foliage just ahead of him. His boots glint as he stands his ground, facing the unseen presence. A monstrous, toothy grin flashes from the darkness of a nearby bush. A loud screeching sound erupts from an unexpected source, startling everything nearby. The source is a small white cat, stretching its claws against Asao's leg. Asao gently picks up the purring cat, calling it a good lass. Held in his hands, the cat lets out a deep, rumbling purr of contentment. Deciding to take a break, Asao magically sets up a table for some tea. He offers a piece of a fried donut, asking if it's to the cat's liking. The cat eats the treat, its eyes sparkling with delight as it declares it tasty. Asao is pleased, noting he's glad he made the donuts plain for her. He suddenly realizes he has seen the cat before in Foss in the village. The cat looks back at him with a knowing, intelligent expression, as if understanding. Holding his cup, Asao begins to suspect the cat's true, mysterious nature. The cat meows and turns, starting to walk down a path as if leading him. Asao prepares his teapot, considering whether to trust the mysterious feline guide. The cat peeks over the edge of the teapot, its eyes wide with curiosity. He wonders aloud if the cat might also be lost, just like him. He briefly imagines the cat as a scary ghost, fleeing from its own kind. An elderly man named Asio hums thoughtfully as his white cat companion appears to wonder where it is. With a calm, knowing expression, Asio looks on, a cigarette held loosely in his mouth. Walking through the woods, he asks the cat if it would be so kind as to keep him safe on his way back. A view of the dungeon reveals a crumbling stone bridge arching over a deep, shadowy chasm. On underground floor 4, Aseo and his cat leap through the air, away from defeated monsters below. Descending to floor 5, he stands victorious over vanquished foes, holding a small glowing wand. Upon reaching a wooded area on underground floor 6, Aseo decides it's a good place to take a nap. He is seen fast asleep against a tree, snoring peacefully amidst the dungeon's strange foliage. The cat companion peeks out from behind his shoulder, remaining alert and on guard while its master rests. Its ears twitch sharply, its attention suddenly drawn to a faint sound in the distance. A close-up shows the cat's sharp, focused eye, honing in on the source of the disturbance. A rustling sound emanates